Let's call it to order, 7 o'clock
It looks lower.
on the 9th of May,
The pipe, yeah.
2016. First order of business is to ask if there are any other additions to the agenda. I have one. I'm going to add number 11 is going to be overweight permits that we just received. Any other additions to the agenda for tonight? Hearing none, I'll move on. We're going to approve the minutes of the April 25th Select Board meeting. Open for comments, suggestions, additions, deletions. Have we all had a chance to review the minutes?
Hold on.
Yes. I read them.
Good plan.
I do have one, actually two.
Okay.
At the very bottom of the first page, Flower expressed the need to look more into the rental agreement for the town hall due to an increase in the use this year. And this is the next that I would like to have deleted by the Jamaica Community Arts Council. It's not because of the Community Arts Council that we are doing this. It was highly recommended by our insurance company, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. So the way that sentence is written, it's as if we're doing this because of the Arts Council. Actually, I'm very happy to have the Arts Council go in there for the use of the building. So I would like that deleted
So
by...
put a period after the year
Correct,
and then just line out the other one.
right.
Okay.
And the second thing that I have is I believe that the minutes are to be signed by the person who does the minutes.
When they come to you electronically?
Yep,
I thought I put my name at the bottom. It might have gotten cut off. I will make sure I do it next time.
Oh, just at the end of the...
Yeah, it must have gotten cut off. And it's saved as a 2-pager.
You can do that.
Yep.
Okay.
On that same bit, I'm on the second page, but of the same subject. When someone suggested that there should be an amount of money for the liability, since it was Joel Katz, I thought it was another fellow that was sitting behind me, not that it matters, but. Remember?
I was thinking
It was Joel.
Joel.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was the guy with a hat behind him. It doesn't, just.
Well, Joel had that. Right?
Well, it doesn't matter who had the hat.
Okay.
It
Well,
was,
I think
it was
that's how I
Joel,
do it
it
for
was
Joel.
Joel Katz, I do remember him saying that.
Okay.
Lou, anything else you want to add?
Not the minutes, no.
What's that?
Then we'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the April 25th meeting
Do I have a second?
Second.
with the corrections,
That's a correct.
as corrected, yes.
yes, right.
I have a second.
Second.
Oh, you second? Any other discussion? Hearing none? All in favor say aye. Against, nay? Hearing none, minutes are approved. We're going to approve the time sheets for the town office, Lister's Highway and Transfer Station. We have to pay, we'll do that at the end of the session. We're going to sign the select board orders. Next thing on the agenda is the report from the highway department. Mr. Keith Hazard.
No.
Another couple.
Is this a question? Questions? I think maybe a little explanation here would be in order for the public. I think we've had a couple of issues that have been brought to our attention by the public, and we had a discussion a week ago and decided that on the second meeting of every month, we'll ask Keith to come in and number one, give him any concerns that the public or we have. Number two, talk a little bit about what his plans are for the near future, so we can kind of report to the community a little bit better on what the highway department is doing. So hence the reason why Keith is here tonight. And,
I thought it was the first meeting.
It's the second Monday, but it's the first meeting.
The first meeting.
okay,
of
second
the
Monday, okay, the first meeting of the month, second Monday.
Mhm.
So what I would suggest is anybody in the public who has any highway concerns and they would like to come in and express them, they would do it on that particular meeting, our first meeting of the month or the second Monday of the month.
Or they could submit it in writing ahead of time.
Sure.
And then Keith would have time to prepare an answer if necessary.
Good. 'Cause- So anyways, that's just an opening explanation for the reason this item is now explicitly on the agenda. So as we look back to the minutes, Keith, there were a couple of things. Perhaps you could tell us the status of those culverts on West Jamaica Road and where they're at now?
One has been eliminated.
This is the metal, one of the metal ones.
Yep, that was pictured. That has been eliminated and just sent down to the next culvert because that was replaced a year and a half ago, larger culvert. We don't need that little culvert anymore. That one's busted anyway. The next one up that I saw in the picture was uncovered on one end, probably due to plowing this winter.
That was the plastic one?
Yeah, we just gravelled the section, covered it, there's nothing wrong with the culvert. It's just on the far edge where the wing sits, it soft ground and uncovers it. We just recovered it. The reason it's so shallow there is there's ledge rock on the uphill end of the culvert, so that's as far down as it can go in that spot. If it keeps me in trouble, I guess we could move it, dig a test hole with it.
Is that the low spot on both sides? Or is it just?
I think it's just the upper end where the ledge comes out.
No, but I mean, is that a culvert where the two sides come down to a low point, or is it more on a continual gradual?
No, it's two ends meet at one culvert.
So you can't really move it too much.
Right, I mean, it is the low spot, but I mean, we could maybe adjust it some. I mean, aside from that, we've replaced 3 culverts in the past week. Just culverts that are on our list via Wyndham Regional
The plan.
that I need to record. But aside from that, it's pretty much business as usual. It's usually in the month of May, we spend ditching and shaping the roads. And it usually takes all of May, part of June, to do all the roads. And then June, July, we shape the roads. And then it's just maintenance from there on out.
Yeah, when you say shape, you mean with the excavator?
Well, no, I mean just heavy crown for the summer. Or what I'd call a heavy crown for the summer, and then it's just keeping the road smooth. It takes a while to ditch everything, especially winters like we just had, because nothing really froze, so you plowed a whole lot of your material into the ditch. You have to pull it back into the road and kind of sift through it, separate it, get the leaves and sod out of it, and mix your wet gravel that was in the ditch back in with the road gravel. It takes more than a few passes to turn it all in, so it isn't a muddy road. And that's like our start point for the summer. I mean, the initial grading that we do around in April, it isn't to shape the road, it's just to
Make it drivable.
make them passable, exactly. Make it so people don't want to kill us all the time. It gets rid of some of the potholes, the ruts. It just makes it so you can move along a little bit.
Washboards.
Because it does, even now the roads are still, there's spots where they're wet. It's really not the optimum time to scrape, but you have to start sometime.
Somebody asked me the other day about a pothole on the bridge on Depot Street.
On which one?
Depot Street.
Depot.
Yeah, I'm contacting Bruce O'Brien. He's gonna, if we just patch it with cold patch, it won't stay. So the price is right. He comes, he cuts it out with a chop saw, squares it up, put something in there and compacts it in, so it's like there for good. There's a couple of them on there, on that bridge, that need to be done. And they pop up from time to time now. I think the cement that's in the floor of the bridge is so porous. Now it starts to pop up. We did one last summer and the summer before that way. I usually try and time it when he's doing like a driveway close by. He'll save a little on his truck and it just makes the price right. You know, instead of him making a trip here to cut it out and do it. If he's by in a week or something, you need 3 pails full. But it stays a lot better if he does it rather than us just getting a cold patch.
Are there other bridges that need a little bit of attention that way?
No, because most of them are wood deck.
I remember though the second bridge on Pikes Falls Road had a couple of areas that might need a little bit
They're
of
shallow. He would definitely have to cut out like I looked at that the other day. It's almost the whole center of the bridge. I don't know if it's from the plow or just from age, but it's like he'd have to cut an entire strip out of the center. I mean, I could ask him to look at it and give us a price.
Yeah.
The important thing, a little bit more involved.
Yeah, the important thing is to make sure that rebar doesn't get exposed. Because if rebar gets exposed, then that causes problems down the road. So the idea is to catch these early before we have rebar issues.
And a bridge like that, it's new enough where if you did make the cut and patch it, it might be worth looking at putting a membrane on it and blacktopping over it. And then that would be 15 years and, you might not have to think about it again.
Is it worth getting a price from Bruso on what that would cost?
I would say, yeah. I mean, for what it is.
Yeah.
He comes for a half a day and it's done. Because we could patch till forever, and it's not going to stay.
I just had came from a meeting with the Transportation Committee at the Wyndham Regional Commission, and the guest for this particular meeting was Pam Thurber, who's in charge of structures in the state. And she gave us a 6-page list of maintenance items that should be done on bridges. So Keith, you and I will go over that list. But she put a strong emphasis on maintenance rather than letting these things. She showed us one bridge that was kind of interesting. Back in 1987, this town was given a recommendation by them to fix a little seam in the thing. They didn't do it. By 2001, the bridge had collapsed. So
we'd like to avoid that.
we like to avoid those kinds of things. So I think a little money spent now is probably a good.
Super.
A good
Judy, you had a question?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to tell Keith that, and the townspeople that I appreciate our new road that we have at the transfer station. Making that
Loop.
circle, the loop, and also you adding on some of that old, the black's top.
Oh, the recycled.
Yeah, down
blacktop, yeah.
in other areas of the road leading up.
Yeah, that was a
That
problem
good.
last year because they try and back in and get
Right.
the recycling bin, and he'd end up too far over, and then we'd have to go up there in a storm and
Yeah, fix it
pull
up.
him out.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't realize that.
so we widened it a little bit, and maybe it won't help, but
So it's really nice, so thank you for
another
that.
6 feet might help.
Any other questions for?
It's a new.
Oh, sorry.
There was another issue that was brought up last week about a large boulder in the middle of, or on the side of Dalewood. So if you could report on that.
We dug out that side of the road that there's a spring or a stump or something way down in the road that makes water come to the top. Every spring, it's a recurring thing. We dug out that portion of the road. It's probably about the size of this room, up the edge of the road. We dug it out and just put back in new gravel and got rid of the stones. I mean, I don't know if that's going to help.
That very large boulder, though, you left there for a period of time.
Right, because we couldn't retrieve it. We tried to get over there with a grader and you just quicksand. So it was essentially a guardrail. to
Has that
stay-
been removed now?
Yeah, there was a bunch of rocks in there, we got out. And just refilled it with gravel, hopefully that. I don't know if it'll stop it next spring or not, but the rocks.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to add?
He has something on the new truck, new
Excavator,
excavator.
that was my only. I've talked to this guy a few times.
This guy being,
This, Steve Abbott, Ambrose Equipment.
okay.
I don't know if everyone's seen this, the spec sheet on that
Oh, yeah.
particular piece of equipment. We can lease it for a month, see if we like it. It's $29.95 for the month, the lease. At the end of the month, if you hate it, you send it back. If you want to buy it, you keep it, you take that off the purchase price. And they forgo delivery and whatnot. It'll take him a month to get it. He said 3 weeks to a month because they come from Sweden, Denmark. So it takes him about a month to get it. So if we want to do anything this summer, we should move yes or no relatively soon. But it comes, it's all set up the way I asked them to set it up. The number that came on the, it says here it's an estimate. I checked him on that. I said, is it an estimate or is it a bid? And he said, no, that's the hard number. It's on the sheet. And he sent me a whole bunch of financing options. There's a lease option. If you want to lease, I'll have to get more information about that portion. I didn't chase that a lot, but you could lease it. It's $1 buyout. But I think it's the machine. If we're going to go after, the trouble is there's only a few of these machines. Actually, there's only 2 of these machines made by manufacturers, and the reason is because it's not a machine that's really sought after. So what happens is the manufacturers, they all make these machines, but they tend to make them bigger because that's what people want. You know, like state highways, interstate highways, and these smaller machines, they're not emissions compliant. So there's very few companies that have engineered it, put the time and money into engineering small ones that they're not going to sell a lot of. So there's 2 manufacturers, and one's Hyundai and one's Wacker-Neuson. The Hyundai one is too small. It's small enough where it's probably more of a golf course thing. It would have trouble reaching over the back of the truck. Doesn't have such a boom length. This one's a little heavier. It's got plenty of reach. If you cut a tree on the edge of the road, you could dig the stump out with this one. And it's got all the attachments. You know, it has a wrist, has a quick coupler bucket, so you get a digging bucket and a ditching bucket. It comes with it's ready to go right from the start. You don't have to add anything.
Is that the 4-wheel?
Yeah, it's a 4-wheel excavator.
I saw a question over here.
Yeah, I was just wondering what kind of machine you were talking about.
Excuse me.
It's a Wacker-Neuson. That's the brand.
And but the type
Hold
of
on,
machine is a...
It's an excavator on
Keep
4
going.
tires. So we can travel up and down the road.
I think
it
It's
has,
like a backhoe type thing.
yeah, it's a rotating excavator. You know,
Got it.
except that instead of being on tracks, it has stabilizers that flop down. Like a backhoe.
Could you state your name for the
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Dan Cummins.
That's what, I just wanted that
I-
to, I know, she might know, but I'd like everybody to do it just to be sure.
Okay, thanks.
Excellent.
Yeah, Keith showed me those two, the specs for the two. And I think this one, the one we were looking at was about 15,000 pound machine. The other one was like a 12,500 pound machine. So I definitely like the heavier machine.
Well, and who knows what size trucks you're gonna have 10 years from now either. So you need to have a boom that can reach them.
Let me give you a sense as to what's going on here regarding this machine. If you recall, we applied for 3 grants earlier in the year, and one of the grants called, part of the project called for the rental of this equipment for the month. So we're hoping that the $3,000 towards the rental will be covered by this grant if we get this grant. We haven't heard yet about this grant. I did, however, hear about the highway paving grant. I was going to talk about this at the end on the other business, but it's kind of relevant to this. We did not get that grant this year. So the immediacy is not quite as extreme. We were hoping to do the paving next year, during the year of 2017. Looks like we're going to be applying for this grant again next year, so we wouldn't have to do the paving until 2018. But I still see the idea of, rather than trying to squeeze all this work into one construction cycle, that we spread it out now over two years.
Yeah, and just for the people keeping track of that, whatever we do on that project is in-kind money. So that when the project comes in, for example, 175,000, they give us 80%, and we have to come up with 20% in kind. So what we then do goes against that. It's in kind. And that would pay for the crew, but as well as the equipment. Good, thank you.
So I think what Keith is saying is, do we want to act on that at all tonight?
I think we ought to look at the figures that he got from the gentleman, and by the end of the week, have an answer if we could get back to him, get back.
I agree with that. Also, we want Terry to weigh in on the financing issue. And she's not here this week.
Right, to see if it's better to pay it outright or rent it for the month, to see, make sure it's something we want, or do the lease.
Yeah, because there's a couple creative financing things that sounded pretty
Right.
attractive.
I mean, they were 0%. you
The
know?
0% is a
Right.
good financing.
Yeah, it is.
One of my
Yeah,
favorite.
so we can look at that and see what's best for us.
Yeah. Thanks for all your legwork on it. I know you spent a lot of time in chasing that information down.
Can you make copies for us of that sometime, tomorrow, or just leave it?
Yeah, I'll
I
just.
think
leave
Terry
it.
has a copy of that.
If you would, just leave, I can make copies tonight.
Yeah, and then we'll make sure you get your thing back.
Oh, and the financing is on the back.
Oh, okay, good, yeah.
Financing stuff.
But I think she should be the one to weigh in.
Yeah,
on the
well, I'll
financing.
make copies tonight to give to everybody,
Super.
so they can
Excellent.
look at it, so we can get on it, so it can get ordered, so they can use it in time.
Excellent. Okay,
So
good.
that will be on our agenda for the next meeting?
Mhm. Yeah.
Unless we have a special meeting this week to decide what we want to do, we might be able
Terry's
to
on
do that.
vacation this week, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, she won't be back.
So she won't be back this week, so
Oh, maybe next week.
next
We
week.
can
We
do it
can take
next
a look
week.
at it. Yeah,
Okay.
excellent, thank you. Keith, you have anything else for us?
You have he's a question?
Yeah,
Do
I
you have
was
a
just curious, what's the price difference on those two?
Almost two?
Yeah,
It's $13,000.
the more expensive one's the Scandinavian one, right?
Right.
Probably better made.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I've had European cars that couldn't keep running, so.
Yeah.
It's heavier. And typically, typically it means you're not gonna break it. Something that's undersized, it ends up as trouble eventually.
So you'd be inclined to use it, right? In other words, like do the month trial or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to Lou, I wouldn't wanna buy anything just to buy it. Let's see if it works for everything, because we were gonna use it for every single aspect that we use it for over the period of a month, like culvert, stumps, ditching, everything. So you make sure that it's something you want and not, something that's gonna be limited in some way.
Now, do you guys service that, or would you have is there a person you can go to for that?
We have a guy come and service it, the general service. I mean, if there was anything like warranty issue, well, it would be warranty work, but the typical, you're talking about like oil changes and yeah, we do that. Or we have a mechanic that comes in and does our general service.
Okay. Cool.
Speaking of warranty, what is the warranty on that machine?
I think it was 3 years. Three years, 3,000 hours.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions, please?
Thank you, Keith, very much.
Keith, thank you very much.
Thanks.
We're not chasing you off. You're welcome to stay.
I'm due for my nap.
There you go. All right, since I'm gonna change number 7 and do that right now, and we'll save number 6 for a few minutes. This is a time for public concerns. Is there any concerns from the public we should address? I have a hand being raised.
I'm Dr. Ed Fowler, and I'd like to request a exit interview in an executive session after this meeting.
I don't think the executive sessions have to be requested by members of the select board, not from other bodies, but we can take that under advisement. We'll have to.
I request that there is an executive meeting for an exit interview.
What's an
Okay.
exit interview?
It's when a person leaves.
Leaves a job for the
Yes.
municipality,
Yeah,
For anybody.
and any job.
for the town.
Any job, if you work for Walmart's, you can have an exit interview.
Right.
So we want to do that at the end of the meeting, then Rich can go.
Yeah, we can do it at the end, and then
Is that all right with you?
Pam and Rich can take off. We can do it afterwards. We'll let that to the end of the agenda.
Okay.
Okay. So let's move to number 6. We now have 2 openings in our listers. Last week we got a letter from Ralph Coleman, who's the chair of the listers. I won't go into the whole details, but his first opening paragraph says, "Due to health and personal reasons, I am resigning my position as lister for the town of Jamaica effective May 9th, 2016. We have posted the position, and as soon as we get some individuals expressing some interest, the select board will vet them and make a decision about the new lister openings."
Well, we had 2 lister
I'm
openings.
sorry, right, we had two of them. We have Ralph, who just resigned, and then we had Ed Duque about 2 weeks earlier. And so we have only 1 lister at this point.
But we do have expressed interest from Peter Andrus, who was previously a lister
Yes.
for many years. And since our grievance is coming up, he has offered to be appointed as a lister and help with that until, other people apply for it. He doesn't want to stay on as a lister for a job because he's
He's not in town.
He's not in town a lot, but he will help us out, and I think I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Peter Andrus for as lister until somebody else. I don't know exactly how we want to word that.
I second that.
Is there a time limit on these notices that you put out for the lister? Is there a time limit for somebody to apply?
Do we put, I don't think we put a
No.
No,
time.
there wasn't, it just said
It's
to,
just a
Yeah,
general.
we just had to put
is
it
that
out.
any interest now?
Right.
What we're running into a time crunch is we're going to have the grievances coming up, and it requires 2 listers to do the grievances.
Right.
We do have a time crunch. I talked to Peter the other day, and he's certainly willing to help us out, especially for the grievances. But because he spends so much of his time out of town, then he couldn't take the job. But you have a good point about whether we appoint him as a temporary
No, we
lister?
have to appoint him as a lister.
As a lister,
We can't appoint him as a
temporarily,
temporary,
or just-
right. No, a lister, he has to be a lister.
Okay, has to
And
be as a
then he
lister.
can resign if somebody else
Yeah.
comes in and.
Okay, then we
yeah.
could just do the
We can do the
resignation.
paperwork, yeah, but he has to be a lister.
Okay, so I've got the motion and a second from Judy about appointing Peter Enders as a lister for the town of Jamaica. Yes, ma'am?
So am I just, Lexa made the motion to appoint Peter Andrews as lister, period.
Yes.
No.
And seconded by Judy.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
All opposed? Hearing none. Thank you, Peter.
I would like to say something about Ralph and his
Sure.
leaving.
Yes, please.
I have been asked by someone in the town that there is, I don't know what you would call it. It's called a card, where people send cards. And he has a birthday coming up next week, and of course, we know that he's pretty much isolated these days in his home and with going to Dartmouth or down to Brattleboro Hospital. So what has been asked if people from the town would like to send him a card wishing him a happy birthday, but also I thought it would be really nice to add to that card the town's thanks for him being a lister for many, many years, being moderator, planning commission, or I think he's select board at some point, you know, just for his service. So
Good idea.
I would like to kind of spread that word for the townspeople to do that. His birthday is supposed to be next week, and I guess to send.
Do you know what day?
You know what day?
I think they said the 18th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're very good, because he has been an integral part of this committee for a long time. Absolutely. So, that's the only public concern, so we'll move on to we have a discussion I got a letter from Karen Ameden regarding the funding of the Porta-Potty for the town of Welland's adjacent to our parking lot right here. And she writes, we have been paying, I'll give you a copy of this for inclusion. We've been paying for 8 months of the year to keep a porta-potty available for the public here in the village of Jamaica. The town of Jamaica has been paying for 3 months, and Jamaica Old Home Day has been paying for 1 month. We are asking the town of Jamaica to pay for the porta-potty for all 12 months of the year, if you feel that you want to keep a porta-potty in town. It is used a great deal by locals and visitors. It also came in pretty handy a couple of times when the town office building was having some plumbing issues. We have just decided that we can no longer continue to pay for it. Thank you, Karen and Dale Ameden. We checked it out. It comes to $90 a month is the cost for it. Any discussion on this letter?
I would suggest that, it's hard, we don't have very many businesses in town. I mean, usually businesses will take up and put up a porta potty or whatever they want, and we don't. We're limited on businesses here, which I understand. Jamaica Old Home Day, the money they get is from us anyway, the taxpayers, so either way, it doesn't matter. But I would make a suggestion that the town pay for at least 4 months, maybe the middle of June to the middle of October, when summer starts, when most of the people are here. It's just a thought, until the middle of October after foliage season.
Maybe Memorial Day weekend might be a good start as opposed to the middle of June, because there's a fair amount of travel in town during that weekend.
Well, no, to keep it until October.
Right, but I mean, then next year starting it again on Memorial Day as opposed to the middle of June.
But usually people drive through, the state park's open,
Yeah.
so you want, so wait, I guess I lost you somewhere.
I guess you had said from June until October.
October, right.
And I was saying, let's go back to May, from May to October. To start it at Memorial Day.
So Memorial Day
Day weekend.
until
Well, a week after Columbus Day, because that's usually when foliage season is over. Or maybe the end of October.
Yeah, I think the end of
The end of October.
so that's 6 months.
Yeah. maybe half the year.
But that's fine, I mean, it was just a thought.
Yeah. Well,
I like
it's-
the idea.
it's a good idea.
I don't think we need it in the wintertime as much.
No,
Although,
We may, but.
actually, since I sit up there, it's used a lot more than you would suspect, because pretty much all the tradesmen in the area know where there's a bathroom.
Right.
And so, everybody, from UPS guys to the Coda guys to the power people, they know where it is.
Does every town?
no, every
Have
town
one?
I
doesn't.
think we're unique.
I don't think so, but,
Yeah, I don't
all
know.
right, so from Memorial Day through foliage, so it'll be half of May through
End of
half of
October.
October or
End of
something like
October,
that, doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know how they'll do it, they'll probably do it month to month, so probably have to.
I think probably. So
May,
we-
June, July, August, 6 months out of the year.
Okay, and we'll go out.
We spend more time talking about a porta potty than an excavator.
We all have personal experiences with a porta potty, the
Well,
excavators all the time.
let's get on with it.
Okay, moving right along. So, do we need to make a motion to this and spend the
Yeah,
money?
I'll make a motion that we pay for the porta potty from May through October, that's 6 months.
From Memorial Day or from the month of May?
We'll do the month of May.
Month of May.
Are you gonna second that?
I'll second that, sure.
Because I know that you would.
I hadn't even thought about it until now.
Do I have a second? I have a second.
Mhm.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
One no.
One no.
One no and 3 ayes. Ayes carry? Did you want to discuss it? No? Okay. So, the next thing we have on the agenda is the monthly report from the fire department. It's going to be quick and dirty. Fire and EMS calls for April. And when he wrote this to me on the 1st of May, there would be 61 total for the year. Since then, there's been at least half a dozen more.
We've had a half a dozen more,
We've
right?
been pretty busy. Equipment is good, training's going well. The fire warden has put out a fire ban back on the 1st of May, and it will be lifted at the warden's discretion. Well, it was lifted for a couple of days. I think currently it's still lifted.
I don't know, I haven't heard anything.
But, well, the last time I talked to him, it is now lifted. Having said that, it goes up and down, because we really haven't had a really good soaking rain to really the underground. So, the fire permits can be obtained from Stuart Barker or Joel Beckwith. Please, if there's any doubt, as in it's not pouring rain at the time you're asking, please get with one of these gentlemen. And there's been some pretty serious forest fires this season, and we want to avoid having any more of those.
Right, can I make a comment?
What's that?
May I say something?
Please.
Please, okay. The town is in need of, which every town is, volunteers for the fire and rescue department. All of our volunteers are getting older,
No.
but we still can move very quickly. So we're always there, you know, middle of the night, we always go. It's nice to have younger folks, or anybody, to join. I know it's time consuming to take the courses and become a good fireman or an EMT or first responder. But it's very rewarding when you can save somebody's life or help somebody. So that's been my experience for the last 30 years. So hopefully we'll get some new people to join. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we've had some good experiences the last week.
Yeah.
So, yes, we could use help. The next thing on the agenda is, I have some overweight permits. Oh, yeah, let's do that. I have one overweight permit from Miller Construction, and he's given us a whole list of his trucks and their equipment and their sizes and VIN numbers and everything. And he included the check, and he included his insurance. So I would accept
I'll make a motion.
motion to have the road commissioner sign these with the usual restrictions. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any further discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Thank you, sir. And let's see. Any other business that comes before the board, from the audience, or from, let's start, no? Luke?
Okay, an interesting call from a constituent regarding our last meeting. And there was a couple of motions that were made that he was a little confused about, especially confused about the amending process of motions.
Yeah,
About the
remember
friendly
you and I-
amendment, yeah. And I did a little research on friendly amendments and I passed it on to Paul. Evidently, friendly amendments imply that the motion belongs to the person who made the motion.
Right.
And it turns out that according to Robert's Rules of Order, once the motion's been made and seconded, the motion belongs to the group, not the maker of the motion. So the concept of a friendly amendment really isn't something that can be done. Although what Robert's Rules does allow for is if it's similar, but the chair can ask if everybody agrees to something, and then if everybody does agree, then it can be made part of the motion without a formal. It's similar to what we call the friendly motion, but it has to come from the chair. And if there's one person in the group that objects, then it has to go to a formal vote.
Is that before the second is made?
That's after the second is made.
Okay, but if the idea comes in before the second,
Before the second,
does that?
you can withdraw your motion and then remake it.
But it's not a friendly motion?
No, it would be a new motion.
Even before the second comes?
If it happens before the second comes.
Yes.
Yes. If it happens after the second comes, the second can remove his second, and then the original motion can be removed by the maker, and then you can remake the motion.
Okay, I'm still confused.
There's no such thing in Robert's Rules as,
A friendly.
quote, friendly amendment.
Correct.
I didn't want to say that the other night.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to what Robert's Rules talks about, but the point is that once a motion's been made and seconded, it belongs to the group, not belongs to the maker of the motion anymore. So that's why the maker can't make a friendly amendment.
Okay. So there's no such thing as a friendly amendment?
Not as I could see it.
Yeah, that's-
Not in those words.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So anyways, and then he was also a little bit confused because of all there was one motion we made that we asked Pam to read it back, and that was clear, but it was with this other motion, when it was read, or when we voted on it, it wasn't clear exactly what the motion was. So his recommendation is that if there is some ambiguity, that the chair read back the motion or ask the clerk to read back the motion. But anyways, he wanted us to be very cautious about that because the votes that we make are
Sure.
put on record. So
And I want to thank him for bringing that to our attention. Some of you may or may not have noticed, most of us are amateurs. So any help we can get from we're all in this together, people. So anybody help we can get from everybody, we'll accept that. Judy?
Well, I'm not done. I got
more.
I got two things. I'm sorry. I did mention earlier about grants. I didn't want to get into too much detail. We did get the structures grant for the bridge replacement on Castle Hill Road. We also just got the hydrology study done. So once we get all that stuff to us, we'll ask Terry to put that out to an RFP. I would really love to get that in this year's construction season because I don't want that bridge to fail. I want it to be under control. The big issue with that bridge, and this is something that we need to talk about as a board, is that that bridge will be down for about a month. So the question is, how do people get to the transfer station? How does our highway crew get to and from the garage? So there is an old, not used anymore kind of pathway between, let me show it to you now. Between those two houses to the back of the fire department. Where's that map? Here it is. It's called Township Road. Township Road, when you come in, to the highway department, you go to the right. But if you could take a left, you loop around, you go between two homes.
Oh, okay. It's
And that's-
obviously got a name to that.
That's called Township Road. And that road is actually a town road up to a certain point. When you get beyond that point, between there and the fire department is private property.
Okay.
And it just so happens that I talked to one of the owners about a week ago for flood zoning issues. And knowing that this issue was going to be coming, I asked her what her initial reaction would be to the town, actually, putting a temporary road through there. We'd have to bring in gravel, we'd have to take some trees down, and then when it's all said and done, we'd have to go and try to put it back as well as we can. So that is one option for this bridge construction, whether we did it this year or we did it next year. We have to come up with an alternative. The other alternative, if we don't come up with an alternative, is that we would have to take all of our town equipment and put it on the other side of that bridge for the month. We'd have to probably put a dumpster someplace in town to handle recycling, to handle trash. And unfortunately, the people who live on Castle Hill Road wouldn't have access to their properties. Right. So, I guess what I'd like you to do is we got to decide how to approach these people permanently about maybe obtaining a right of way. So I don't know if we want, how you want to approach that.
Did she have an initial response that you care to share with us?
Her initial response was very favorable.
Oh, good, so
But again, that's an initial response.
Sure, yeah.
She had an opportunity to talk over with her husband
Yeah.
and anybody else who wants to advise her. But I would like to continue that process. I don't know if we
I
want
think
to
that's
do
the best way to go.
Yeah,
That's
because otherwise
that's
the people on
really the
Castle
only
Hill
way,
are
right.
shut off for a while.
Yeah, because we've got a lot of big trucks that come and pick up the dumpsters and
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Right. Again, if we didn't get that kind of access, then we'd probably have to close that area for that 3 or 4 weeks
Yeah.
and put the dumpsters, put temporary.
Like we did during Irene.
Like we
Put
did
some
during
dumpsters
Irene,
down at
right.
I mean, that could be taken care of fine. I wouldn't worry about that part of it and moving the trucks and stuff. It's the
Yeah.
people who live there.
That's the
that we
biggest
have.
issue.
That's the big thing. They can't be away from their home.
Yeah.
And then you can't get fire and rescue in there.
Right.
If
You
there
have
was
to
a
make
building
sure
fire.
that-
There is precedent for that. When the 2 box culverts were put on Turkey Mountain Road, the Williams and the Flowers were totally cut off. We had to park our cars down by Stewart's house and walk, and that was at least a month.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the people who live on Castle Hill, it's quite a hike.
especially uphill.
That's a big hike up there, yeah.
Yeah.
I think something can be worked out.
I think so, yeah. I can imagine a compromise where the dumpsters and stuff may be located on this side, but certainly vehicle
It's the
traffic.
people
Yeah.
that we're concerned about right now.
So I'll make contact with this couple and,
And if there's anything I can do, let me know.
okay. We have 2 years, we have till the end of 2017 to do this project.
So we want to get on it right away.
Right.
And then the other decision we have to make is, do we want to do a engineered culvert or do we want to do a design build?
Design build.
And Terry and I have gone over those 2 concepts, and she is a big fan of engineered buildings because she likes to see somebody responsible for seeing that it's done right besides the engineer for the company who's actually doing
Sure.
that engineer works for the company, doesn't work for the town. However, design builds tend to be faster and tend to be a little bit cheaper. We have to pay 10% of the first $200,000 and everything else after $200,000. So the cheaper the cost, the better. So I don't know if you want to think about that or you want to decide tonight whether we want to go.
Let's put that one, add that to the conversation with Terry.
Okay, and let's bring that to the next.
Yeah, because that's something we're going to have, that's going to be a financial piece for us.
But if we decide to go with an engineer, we have to hire the engineer and get that process
Get going.
going as soon as possible. So that's the structures grant. We also received news on the paving grant, which I alluded to earlier. We did not get a paving grant, so we'll apply again next year. The other thing I wanted to bring up, well, 2 things. Town garage, we've had 2 town garage meetings since the last time we met. We've kind of converged on a plan that we will be proposing tomorrow night at the informational meeting. This is really a floor plan and an elevation. These do not include any hard engineered solution. It's just basically a floor plan and an elevation. Obviously, with the amount of time we had, we didn't have time to, come up with the full thing. Plus, the cost of that is something that we would have to vote on as a group to allow for that. So that's the plan for tomorrow night. And as I pointed out, tomorrow night is the meeting. Hopefully, as many people would come to that informational meeting as possible.
What time is the meeting tomorrow night?
6:30?
Thirty.
That's town hall. Town hall, not the town offices.
Oh, okay.
But there will be a sign here that says go to the town.
Good way.
Okay.
Okay.
You got that?
Okay. And the last thing is I just wanted to talk a little bit about 3 through 7s again from the Winhall Solid Waste. You might have seen that there was an article in last Friday's paper, I think it was, that Rattleboro has told their residents not to worry about 3 through 7s, just to put them in the recycling, which is causing a big stir at the district, as you can imagine. So we're going to be discussing that again at our meeting on Thursday night. So 3 through 7s is still an issue.
So your advice to the Jamaica residents?
Do what we've advised them to do, which is to screen out their 3 through 7, not to include them.
Except 1 to 2, but not 3 to 7.
Correct. At the moment, that's our suggestion.
Excellent. Anything else?
That's it.
Judy?
Well, I was going to talk about that.
Oh,
You can elaborate on it if you like.
Well, I will. Mark Fluff, who is our attendant, has been passing out these flyers that came from Wyndham Solid, which really kind of highlight what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. So that is in process, and we are got a whole new bunch, and he's given out that bunch that came to the town office. The second thing is that we have been talking, Terry and I, about switching from tokens to punch cards. One of the reasons why we are thinking seriously about it is that the tokens are stipulated for a certain amount of money. And sometimes when a person brings something up, for example, if they bring a little radio, portable radio, the cost of that is $5. Well, the tokens are worth $2.50, so they can use 2 tokens. But sometimes in listing what an electronic piece is or a mattress or something like that, and it doesn't fit within the $2.50 denominational type of calculation, then they either lose money or we lose money. So, and we cannot give change. So what we have come up with is that we are going to start working on cards that Mark will punch with, and I think they'll be in denominations of 1, 2, 5, and 10. Correct? I think
Yeah,
something. I know you've been
I
kind
made
of
some prototypes.
looking. Good. Okay, I haven't seen them. What do you-
Using our printer, our card printer?
Yes.
Very good, very good.
Using our card printer. Yeah. So that will help because someone even came, I think, to either here to Pam or to Mark and wanted $1 in change using the tokens. And of course, he doesn't have any money up there. And it's an impossibility down here to give change. So with this, we can help the person spend what it is costing them to put into either the electronic section or the other sections of not recyclables, but the garbage. So that's on its way, and other than that, things are going pretty well.
good, thank you very much.
So those tokens for people who don't want to write a check?
Correct.
Okay.
They have to write checks now, unless they have tokens.
Paul?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking down the wrong way. Yes, please.
Do I need
No.
to state my name again?
We've got it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still like throw stuff in the dumpster, like you know, like a radio or like a coffee maker or something like that?
Yeah,
You do?
but you don't, no, not in the dumpster. Those need to go pretty much into the electronic area, and Mark will have that list
Okay.
of what you would do. So there's a whole listing of the different appliances.
Right, I just remember, I think in the
Yeah.
past, that there was like a charge and they just kind of went
Yeah.
into the trash.
And then you can bring, I think, any kind of bulky item. For example, if you had a old chest of drawers
Right.
or
Mattress, whatever,
Mattress.
and those all have listings to it also.
Right.
So it's not just construction, but it's household, where to, things that you want to.
Yeah, I've seen, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Go in the big dumpsters.
Any others? Mr. Coyne?
There's some health officer matters. It's kind of hard to get specific about them, but there's a follow-up on a rental inspection that's getting a little complicated, but the owner has come into compliance, and then X amount of time will go by and I'll go back and check it out. But I'm trying to stay the course with the manual and with the laws that without getting involved with either party showing any favor. It's
Sure.
been pretty interesting. I haven't had to ask anybody to go with me or anything, but I may at the follow-up. So that'd be something. It's hard to talk about
Sure.
in public without mentioning the parties involved.
Understand.
And then there's another one. I got a call from a man who, there's an adjacent property owner who isn't really close to him, but it's down the road. He's trying to sell his property and trying to get the town health officer involved in going there and seeing if there's health violations. And he can't go without a complaint. He doesn't want to give me a complaint, but he may come to the board.
Okay.
And I can't just drive in there and ask the guy how he's doing, nor do I want to without somebody else with me.
Gotcha.
So I got about another 3 days before this gentleman's gonna be calling again. And it's, I'm getting no help from the state because of no zoning. And then, sad but true, and I should mention it because I've got multiple calls about vermin. And they're mostly by rivers and mostly rats. And I'm just passing along information from the state. It sounds like, it's common sense, it seems like, but don't give them any food sources. If they become an issue, let your landlord know if you're renting. If you're the owner, call an exterminator. That's what they're telling me.
Okay.
And it seems to be a cycle of something going on, but other than that, that's it. I think, I'm not sure how to proceed with the second thing I mentioned. Without talking amongst ourselves, I don't know if we're supposed to do it on camera or.
Well, like you said, he hasn't given you a written complaint. He doesn't have a
No.
written complaint, so you don't have a lot of impetus to move.
Right.
I mean, it's a nice call, but if he's not willing to put it in writing, it
Okay.
kind of
Well,
precludes us.
I know
from-
that, and I told him that.
Yeah. So when he writes us, then we can deal with something, but your
Okay.
hands are tied. And you're exactly right, you can't go on private property without a complaint.
Nor would I want to.
Exactly.
That's it.
I do.
I have a question. You talked about rats. When the houses are like in the village or close together, calling an exterminator for one house won't change the situation.
That's just what the Board of Health is telling me to pass along.
It's a waste of time because the rats will just move back and forth. I mean, I don't have rats right now, but
It may be some kind of a community push, and if there's several homes that are affected,
I know there are. at
then
least
they need to kind of work together on that one, I think.
And they won't hear that from me unless they call, but that's the Department of Health, Vermont Department of Health, that's the information they pass along to us.
Well, points will take it.
I just have one thing. I have one thing for Joel. He was at our committee meetings. He's been very faithful about being there and asked a couple of questions. And I think I'd like to give you some information that I received. We'll give it tomorrow night too. But I talked to Winhall today, and before they built their new garage, their fuel bill, they had oil, was like ours, $10,000, depending on the winter, but usually about $10,000 a year. And their garage, she said, was similar. She didn't say it was similar to ours. She said it had holes in it. She said we were heating the outside. From July 1st, 2015 to today, they paid in propane $2,900. So that's a big savings. And I think that was, and then for the property up there, I don't have I cannot get a number for that lady who owns it. I have her name,
She
but
won't give you a number, or you can't find it?
I can't find it. I have her name and everything, and I can't find it. I looked on the computer. Pam's helped me.
Put it in your tax bill.
I suppose I could, you know what? Never thought of it. I just thought of it now. I could write to her.
Mhm.
That's what I'll do.
What about the insurance liability building on the floodplain versus someplace else?
I think we're gonna talk.
There's no insurance liability.
Right.
No, I mean the ability to get insurance.
Oh, there's no problem. If you're above the base flood elevation, you don't need, flood insurance. You only need you have to have flood insurance if you're, if you have a mortgage, which obviously we want. I don't think a bond qualifies for a mortgage. But that's a good question for VLCT. Is there any difference in their insurance premium in a flood?
I don't think so. It's the same in our insurance. Well, we'll have all that information.
Well,
I'm gonna have it all written out for tomorrow night.
Yeah, currently we do have insurance for that building,
Yes, we do.
so it is in the floodplain. So.
And the insurance is $1,400 a year for that building, which is, they have it, the replacement value of
Is that flood insurance? or
No, that's just regular
building
straight insurance, and not on the vehicles, just the building. And it's based on, I'm not sure exactly, but it's $1,400 a year for that insurance. And the replacement cost for that building, if we had to build it that same size, is over $400,000, $401,000.
That's a replacement for the current existing structure.
Right.
Currently.
Wow.
Right.
When you say you
But
have,
I'll have all that information out, and it'll be in, that we'll have. But I want you to know that we've done some homework. We're not just sitting here, we're trying.
when you say there's when there's a mortgage on a municipal building, there has to be flood
No, there's a
insurance?
mortgage on a private building, you have to have flood insurance.
I don't have to.
You're not in the flood zone, you're not in the floodplain.
Oh, you mean in the floodplain?
Right,
Oh,
right,
okay.
right.
Right.
Well, I have it.
That is a good question, though. Does VLCT have a separate floodplain flood policy?
When I bought my house, I had to buy flood insurance. I keep it even though there's no mortgage on it.
It's certainly an option.
But I had to keep flood insurance on it, and I was, as you say, above the flood height, which didn't mean.
Well, that just makes it cheaper.
Right.
Where you are on the floodplain is your premium that you pay, basically, determines your premium.
And Dan, you had a,
Yeah, was the $1,400 a year, is that for the new garage or?
no, that's what we're paying now.
Okay. And have you guys sought out, the value of the garage goes up, maybe what we're gonna be paying?
We'll probably $200 more, not a lot.
But
Our
we're gonna
insurance is all
have a better
VLCT.
But I understand there's going to be a better fire suppression system too, so that might offset some of that.
I don't
Although
know.
we hadn't planned on putting a fire, at least at the moment, we're planning on not putting a,
You're going to put in a sprinkler.
Sprinkler.
Right, but these questions will come up. We'll
No.
take care of this tomorrow.
All right.
Everything's gonna be taken care of
Okay.
tomorrow.
Any other business before the board? If not, I would take,
I move we go into executive session for a personnel issue.
do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second? Any discussions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any nays?
Sorry, I was writing.
Okay, we'll start over again. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Hearing none, motion passes. We are adjourned at 7:00.
No, no, no.
We're not adjourned.
We're going into executive
We're
session.
going into executive session at 8:05.